I stood there, drenched in filthy rainwater, shivering as thunder roared outside. My husband's stepsister had just thrown a bucket of muddy water on me at a wedding and shoved me into the pouring rain. Everyone laughed. Then the door burst open. My billionaire husband stood there soaked and furious. Everything changed. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't believe how this unfolds. Trust me, you'll want to see every second of what happens next. My name is Alicia, and I never imagined my life would turn out this way. I come from a simple background, the kind where you count pennies and work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. My parents were hardworking people who taught me kindness, humility, and the value of treating everyone with respect. Those lessons shaped who I am today, but they also made me an easy target for people who mistake kindness for weakness. 3 years ago, I met Adrian at a charity event where I was volunteering. I was serving food to homeless families when this tall, handsome man in an expensive suit walked up to me. He didn't act like the other wealthy donors who showed up for photo opportunities and tax write-offs. Adrian actually sat down with the families, talked to them, listened to their stories. When he approached me later, I thought he was going to complain about something. Instead, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee after my shift. I almost said no. I mean, look at him and look at me. He was clearly out of my league, but something in his eyes was genuine, warm, and curious. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks and deep conversations. 6 months later, he proposed. And just like that, I went from struggling to pay rent to being married to Adrian Huntington, a self-made billionaire who built his empire from nothing. But here's the thing about marrying into wealth. The money doesn't come alone. It comes with family, expectations, and people who judge you based on your bank account rather than your character. Adrian's family never accepted me. To them, I was just a gold digger, a nobody who trapped their precious son with charm and manipulation. It didn't matter that Adrian and I genuinely loved each other. It didn't matter that I never asked him for anything. In their eyes, I would never be good enough. The worst of them all was Vanessa, Adrian's stepsister. She was everything I wasn't. Polished, sophisticated, dripping in designer clothes and entitled attitude. Her mother had married Adrian's father for business connections, and Vanessa grew up believing the world owed her everything. She hated me from the moment we met. Every family gathering became a battlefield where she would make snide comments, subtle insults disguised as jokes, and do everything possible to make me feel small. Adrian always defended me. He would shut her down immediately, set boundaries, and make it clear that disrespecting me meant disrespecting him. But he couldn't be everywhere all the time, and Vanessa knew exactly when to strike, when he wasn't around to protect me. That's how I ended up at his cousin's wedding, alone and vulnerable. The invitation came a month before the event. It was supposed to be the wedding of the year, a massive celebration at one of the most luxurious mansions in the city. Adrian was excited about it. His cousin Nathan was one of the few family members who actually treated me like a human being, and Adrian wanted us both to be there to celebrate. But then his business trip came up, an urgent meeting in another city that couldn't be rescheduled. Adrian was torn. He didn't want to leave me alone with his family, but this deal was worth millions and required his personal attention. I told him to go. I assured him I'd be fine. I'd attend the wedding, congratulate Nathan and his bride, and come home. Simple, right? Wrong. The morning of the wedding, dark clouds rolled in. The weather forecast predicted a severe storm, the kind that knocks out power and floods streets. Adrian called me 3 times before his flight, making me promise to leave early if the weather got bad. He said he'd try to finish his meeting quickly and fly back in time for the ceremony. I kissed him goodbye, watched him leave, and started getting ready. I chose a simple but elegant peach-colored dress, nothing too fancy, nothing that would draw attention. I didn't want to give Vanessa more ammunition. I did my hair in a simple bun, put on minimal jewelry, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked presentable, respectable, like someone who belonged at a wedding. But deep down, I knew the truth. I would never belong in their world, no matter what I wore. By the time I arrived at the mansion, the storm was already brewing. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind had picked up, bending trees and scattering leaves across the perfectly manicured lawn. The mansion was breathtaking. Tall columns, crystal chandeliers, flowers everywhere, and guests in outfits that probably cost more than my childhood home. I walked in and immediately felt the stares. Women in designer gowns and dripping with diamonds looked me up and down with barely concealed disgust. Men whispered to each other, probably wondering what Adrian saw in someone so ordinary. I kept my head high and walked toward my seat, trying to ignore the judgment radiating from every corner of the room. That's when I heard her voice. "Oh, look, everyone!" Adrian's little charity case decided to show up. Vanessa appeared beside me, wearing a stunning red gown that probably cost more than a car. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were full of venom. She linked her arm through mine like we were best friends, but her grip was tight enough to hurt. "Where's your husband, darling?" "Oh, wait. Let me guess. He had something more important to do?" I forced a smile. "He had a business meeting. He'll be here soon." "Of course he will," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "You keep telling yourself that." I pulled my arm away and found my seat in the back of the hall, away from the main family section. The ceremony was beautiful. Nathan and his bride looked so happy, so in love, and for a moment I forgot about Vanessa and the hostile stares. I thought about Adrian and me, about our wedding day, about the promises we made to each other. But that peaceful moment didn't last long. During the reception, the storm outside intensified. Rain pounded against the windows like angry fists. Lightning flashed, illuminating the hall in brief, stark bursts. Thunder shook the building. Some guests looked nervous, but the party continued. Music played, people danced, champagne flowed. I stayed in my corner, trying to be invisible. But then I noticed the catering staff struggling. Trays were piling up, drinks needed to be served, and they were clearly overwhelmed. Old habits kicked in. I've worked in restaurants before, and I couldn't just sit there watching people struggle. I got up and started helping, carrying trays, refilling glasses, clearing tables. That's when Vanessa found me. "Well, well, well," she said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Playing servant again? I guess you can't help your true nature, can you?" People started turning toward us, phones coming out of pockets. I could feel it, the setup, the trap closing around me. I tried to walk away, but Vanessa stepped in front of me. "Where are you going?" "You looked so comfortable serving. Why stop now?" She grabbed a tray from my hands and deliberately tilted it, sending glasses crashing to the floor. The sound echoed through the hall, and suddenly all eyes were on us. "Oh my goodness! Look what you've done!" Vanessa gasped dramatically. "Clean this up immediately." My face burned with humiliation, but I knelt down and started picking up broken glass. I could hear laughter, whispers, the click of camera phones recording every moment. Vanessa stood over me, her smile triumphant. But she wasn't done. Not even close. The storm outside had gotten worse. Water was leaking through one of the side entrances, collecting in buckets placed by the staff. Vanessa's eyes landed on those buckets, and I saw something dark and cruel flash across her face. She walked over, picked up one of the buckets, and came back toward me. The bucket was full of muddy rainwater mixed with dirt, leaves, and debris from outside. "You know what, Alicia? You look too clean for someone so dirty inside." Time seemed to slow down. I looked up at her, saw the bucket tilting, and knew what was about to happen. I tried to move, but I was surrounded. Family members had formed a circle around us, their phones raised, recording every second. The dirty water hit me like a wave. It was cold, so cold it took my breath away. The filthy water soaked through my dress instantly, plastering my hair to my face and neck. Muddy streaks ran down my clothes, dripping onto the expensive carpet. I gasped, shocked, humiliated, unable to move or speak. And they laughed, all of them. The whole room erupted in laughter like this was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. Vanessa's voice rose above the noise. "Since you're already wet, why don't you enjoy the weather outside?" Before I could react, she grabbed my arm and started dragging me toward the door. I tried to resist, but other hands joined in, pushing me forward. The crowd parted, laughing and cheering like this was entertainment. The door flew open, and Vanessa shoved me outside into the storm. The rain hit me like needles. It was pouring, absolutely pouring, the kind of rain that blinds you and soaks you to the bone in seconds. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the driveway in blinding white light. Thunder boomed so loud it hurt my ears. The door slammed shut behind me. I stood there in the muddy driveway, completely drenched, shaking from cold and shock and humiliation. I could hear them inside, still laughing, celebrating their cruelty. I pounded on the door, begging them to let me in. But no one came. The rain was relentless. It pounded down on me, mixing with my tears, washing away what little dignity I had left. My dress clung to me, heavy and cold. My hair hung in wet ropes around my face. Mud splashed up my legs with every movement. I had never felt so alone, so worthless, so completely destroyed. And then I saw headlights cutting through the rain. A car pulled up fast, tires splashing through puddles. The door flew open and Adrian stepped out. He was still in his business suit, his briefcase in hand, and within seconds the rain soaked him completely. Our eyes met. His expression went from confusion to horror to absolute fury in the span of a heartbeat. He dropped his briefcase and ran to me, his shoes splashing through the muddy water. "Alicia!" His voice broke. "What happened? What? Who did this?" He pulled off his suit jacket and wrapped it around my shoulders, even though we were both already soaked. His hands cupped my face, his eyes searching mine with such concern and rage that I started crying harder. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Don't," he said firmly. "Don't you dare apologize. Tell me what happened. Tell me everything." Before I could answer, he scooped me up in his arms and carried me toward the door. He didn't knock. He didn't wait. He kicked the door open with such force it slammed against the wall. The music stopped. The laughter died. The entire wedding hall went silent. Adrian walked in carrying me, both of us dripping water and mud onto their perfect floors. His presence filled the room, powerful, commanding, terrifying. Every eye was on us, but his eyes were scanning the crowd like a predator hunting prey. He gently set me down but kept his arm around me, holding me close. Water dripped from his hair, his expensive suit ruined, but he didn't care. He was focused entirely on one thing, finding out who hurt me. "Someone," he said in a voice so cold it made people step back, "is going to tell me why my wife was standing in a storm." Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Adrian's arm tightened around my shoulders. He looked down at me, his voice softening just for me. "Tell me everything, Alicia. Every detail, every person." My voice shook as I told him. The bucket of dirty rainwater, Vanessa throwing it on me, the laughter, being dragged and pushed outside, the locked door, all of it. With every word, I felt Adrian's body tense. His jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. His breathing became controlled, measured, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. When I finished, he turned to face the crowd. His eyes found Vanessa, who was trying to blend into the group, her earlier confidence completely gone. "Vanessa," he said quietly, "step forward." She didn't move. She looked terrified, her face pale, her hands shaking. "I said step forward." His voice thundered through the hall, and Vanessa jumped. She took small, hesitant steps toward us, her eyes darting around looking for help that wasn't coming. Adrian stared at her with such intensity that she actually started crying. "You want to treat people like trash? Humiliate them for entertainment? Let me show you what that actually costs." He pulled out his phone and started making calls right there in front of everyone. Effective immediately, Vanessa is removed from her position at Huntington Enterprises. Cancel all credit cards linked to family accounts under her name. The penthouse on Riverside, owned by my company, she has 48 hours to vacate. Security will supervise. Contact our lawyers about trust fund access suspension. Vanessa's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees, mascara running down her face. "Adrian, please! I'm sorry, it was just a joke. Please don't do this." He looked down at her with disgust. Jokes are funny. Cruelty isn't. You humiliated my wife in the rain like an animal. You locked her outside in a storm. You laughed while she suffered. That wasn't a joke? That was evil. But everyone was laughing. I wasn't the only one, she screamed desperately. No, Adrian agreed. You weren't. He turned to the crowd, and his next words sent shockwaves through the room. Everyone who laughed, everyone who recorded, everyone who participated, if you work for any company I own or have business with, consider your positions under review. If you receive financial support from the Huntington Family Trust, that support is now conditional. Treat my wife with disrespect again, and you're cut off completely, family or not. His father tried to intervene. Adrian, you're overreacting. She's your sister. Stepsister, Adrian corrected coldly. And Alicia is my wife, my family, the woman I chose, the woman I love, and every single person in this room just showed me exactly who they really are. He pulled out his phone again and started typing. Within seconds, I saw people's phones lighting up with notifications. Adrian had posted something on social media, a statement defending me, explaining what happened, making it clear that anyone who disrespected me would answer to him. The videos people had recorded were already circulating, but now, instead of being entertainment, they became evidence of cruelty. The comments sections exploded, people were disgusted, hashtags started trending. The public backlash was instant and brutal. Adrian called security. They came and escorted Vanessa out through the same door she had pushed me through. The rain was still pouring. She screamed and begged, but they didn't stop. She got exactly what she gave me, soaked, humiliated, crying in the storm. Poetic justice. The wedding was over. The bride and groom were mortified. Nathan approached us, apologizing profusely, saying he had no idea this would happen. Adrian accepted his apology, but made his position clear. He wouldn't tolerate anyone abusing me, regardless of the occasion. We left together. Adrian kept his arm around me the entire time, guiding me to his car, helping me inside, making sure I was safe and warm. As we drove away from that nightmare, the storm began to calm, as if even nature knew justice had been served. The days that followed were chaotic. Vanessa's life fell apart spectacularly. She was evicted from her luxury penthouse. Her so-called friends abandoned her. She had to get a regular job for the first time in her life, working retail, living in a tiny apartment, learning what real struggle felt like. The tabloids were merciless. Social media tore her apart. Everything she valued, status, wealth, admiration, was gone. But Adrian and I? We grew stronger. That night showed me something I'd always known but needed to see proven. He truly loved me. Not just with words, but with action. He burned bridges with his own family to protect me. He risked business relationships to defend me. He showed the world that I mattered more than their approval. Weeks later, Vanessa requested a meeting. She looked different, humbled, broken, wearing simple clothes and minimal makeup. She cried as she apologized, and for the first time, it seemed genuine. She told me about her new job, her tiny apartment, how hard everything had become. She said she finally understood what it felt like to be treated as less than human. I listened, and then I said, I forgive you, Vanessa. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean things go back to how they were. You need to earn your own respect now, build your own life, learn what real strength looks like. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and left. Adrian's family slowly began to change their attitude toward me, some out of genuine remorse, others out of fear of losing their connection to Adrian's wealth and power. I didn't care about their reasons. I had learned the most important lesson. I didn't need their approval. I had Adrian's love, and that was enough. Looking back at that rainy night, I realized it was a turning point, not just in how Adrian's family saw me, but in how I saw myself. I learned that kindness isn't weakness, but it also shouldn't come without boundaries. I learned that real love means standing up for each other, even when it costs you something. I learned that sometimes the storm outside is nothing compared to the storm that comes when someone truly powerful decides to protect the person they love. That night, Vanessa tried to wash away my dignity with dirty rainwater. Instead, she washed away every illusion about who these people really were. And Adrian? He showed everyone exactly who he was. A man who values character over status, love over approval, and his wife over everything else. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me, what would you have done in Adrian's position? And don't forget to subscribe because I've got more unbelievable stories coming your way. Hit that notification bell so you never miss what happens next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.